Hi, everybody. Frank Gladstone here from ASIFA-Hollywood. Today, we're talking with Nikki Lopez, who is the creator and co-producer, co-executive producer of,
Cody P.
yeah, of a brand new series at Nickelodeon called Santiago of the Seas. So, hi, Nikki.
Hi, thank you for having me here, Frank.
That's okay. You got all the doubloons behind you and
Yes,
everything
yes,
like that.
like a
And the
true
prison
pirate.
there. Santiago so far, I think only 2 episodes have been released, right? Um,
Um, I think we released about 4 or 5 now.
Well,
Uh,
I've seen the Christmas episode.
yep, yeah,
That's
that was our last one.
yeah, that's the one that I've seen. And so and I've got lots of questions for you, but the first one, I mean, you're a young whippersnapper in our business. How long have you been in the animation business?
I started 10 years ago as an intern at Nickelodeon, and
An
that's been
intern.
my home ever since.
Oh man, so you were an intern, so that probably means you were in an animation school somewhere.
Yes, yes. I actually went to Ringling College of Art and Design.
Right.
I started off as a CA computer animation student, and then I transitioned into illustration.
And then you got to an internship and they hired you out of when you graduated, of course. You
Yep.
graduated, but good, because your parents want to see that. They want to know you graduated. And then from there you went on to stay. And what did you do? What now you didn't start as a co-creator or a creator you started as a gopher.
Yeah, practically. Yeah, I worked my way up. After I was done with the internship, I was very lucky to get hired as a production assistant on that very production that I started my animation journey in.
Mhm.
And that became my essential animation school in a way, because I was there in the job and I
Right.
was learning and collaborating with all these outstanding individuals. And 2 years into that, an opportunity came up with Fairly Odd Parents. They were seeking to restaff the show. They were coming back from hiatus. So I pretty much tried for everything on the design side of things. And I got selected to be one of their color designers. So I did that for a fair bit. I did color design there on FOP, and then I got taken over to Harvey Beaks, um, and then I went on to Glitch Tech. But during that Harvey moment was when I started to pitch ideas to Nick Jr.
So
Um,
you had ideas for shows and stuff like that,
oh
and
yeah, yeah,
pitched, and maybe they heard them, maybe or thought of them, and maybe they didn't,
yep.
Um, and then finally, you got hooked up with Leslie Valdez and Valerie Welsh Valdez somehow. Now, had Nickelodeon said we like this idea, and I went with the Valdez family to work with you, or had you already talked with them, or how did
Yeah,
that work?
so how it happened was I pitched this deck with this world, this mythology, these characters, and the development executives were pretty excited about it. So generally for green creators, they supply you with a list of writers.
Mhm.
But one of the execs stepped in and they basically said, "Oh, we have this amazing opportunity. We showed your pitch to the co-creator of Dora, Valerie Walsh Valdez, and her husband, who was a story editor on Dora, and they were really excited about it.
Right.
And we'd like for you all to meet and see if it's a good collaborative match." So I flew to New York City and I met with them, and it was really cool to hear how excited they were about my vision for the show, its purpose, what I wanted to do in terms of truly representing this Latino Caribbean culture that I come from,
Mhm.
and from there we collaborated.
And
They,
Leslie's also from Cuban. Well, he's a
yes,
Cuban so he's from the same milieu, so to
yeah,
speak. You guys could speak Spanish together. I don't know if Valerie speaks Spanish or not. So, but that's pretty interesting. You were born and raised in Puerto Rico, and so you have this background. I'm from Miami, so I kind of have this background too. I call Miami either the sixth borough of New York or a small Latin American country. And
Yeah.
it kind of is. And there was a, and I was interested because the show is a bilingual show. And when I was coming up in Miami, there was a show called Que Pasa USA. I
Okay.
don't know if you've ever heard of it before.
No, I'm not familiar.
It was a situation comedy, and they used code switching, which is a word for changing languages in the middle of conversation. So, and they did. It was a sitcom, and maybe Leslie would remember it. I don't know. It was in I think the late 70s, early 80s. It was actually made in Miami, and it was a funny sitcom, family stuff, and it was around for a couple of years, and it was good reviews. But they talk in English and then they talk in Spanish.
Yeah.
And it would be the conversation. They wouldn't be translating what they said. It would be like your show. They're not translating what they said. They just said it, and in the context, you get it. You know what they're saying. So, do you have experts working with you on how to do that?
We do. That was the cool thing of being able to work with Val, is the fact that she already had this arsenal of resources and people to tap into, particularly Mariana, who she worked as our consultant for the show. So taking what was learned from Dora and being able to put it in something that was appropriate for Santiago, because one thing that was very important for me was for the Spanish element, the highlighting that aspect of bilingualism, for it not to take away from the adventure, for it to feel like something natural, something authentic, that when kids or parents hear it, it's like, oh, that's exactly how we talk at home.
Right.
So I feel like we did it.
Yeah, I mean, when I watched the episode, because all I knew was Kids and Pirates. You know, okay, I'm going to watch Kids and Pirates. And I would watch the episode, and the Spanish comes out, and I understand. I'm from Miami. I understand it a little. And I say, oh, okay, I get this. This is. And then I remembered this old series. I don't know if you can even find them on YouTube or something. It was called Que Pasa USA. And it was a multi-generational family. And the same thing. The kids would talk one way, and then they break in, and the old people would speak more Spanish and then break into English. So it was pretty great. And I love the idea. And I'll tell you another thing. When I was coming up, kid, the age that your show is geared to, preschool and early school age, we learned Spanish in school because it was Miami. And it didn't work. I remember first of all, it wasn't on television. It was through the school. It was on the announcements every morning. And have a little show. And it didn't work. And I think there'd been something like your show when I was that age. And now that it's for other people, I think it's gonna help. It's a much more natural way to kind of get the words.
Yeah.
And then be interested, and maybe I'll put some words together and make a sentence or so forth. I'm hoping. I think that it's great. If I were a kid, I would, and it's engaging. You know, the episodes are a lot of fun.
Thank you.
So
it's been really cool I've had a couple of parents reach out to me through social media, and there's been instances where some of them confess that they tried to get their kids to be interested in speaking Spanish, and they just be met with resistance. They didn't want to pick up any of the words. But now that they see a hero on screen who activates the magic of all these mythical, like this mythical ship and his mythical sword and all that kind of stuff, now they're like repeating all the Spanish. So it's cool to have that impact for kids to now feel empowered and motivated to embrace their first language and their heritage.
Well, you brought up a question I wanted to ask about all those mythical, magical things, because there's lots of magic in the show.
Yes.
You know, first of all, I think the ship has a personality. They can tell the ship.
Sorta.
And Santiago has like this bracelety kind of thing, and a sword and a compass, and there's a magic guitar. And, you know, that means there's kind of rules about how they can use those. And was that part of the initial concept, that was going to be magic?
Yeah, it all it all stemmed from this idea that there's this pirate protector to the island, and because the pirate protector is so true of heart, um, the island supports him or her with island magic. So for Santiago, when Santiago in the pilot takes a risk to save his pet frog Kiko, that's when the island reacts and helps him reach Kiko, and he then finds the treasure chest and all that kind of stuff. So it all stemmed from that, that empathetic nature. That's where the magic comes from.
And then they can use the magic to help, in the Christmas episode. I mean, there's magic all over the place when they have to save Santa and the sleigh, and he's got his stuff shooting out and swinging.
So much sparkles. There are so many sparkles.
And another question is, there's a fairly sizable cast of running characters that run through it. And I thought maybe you would give me a one sentence about each of them, or maybe for Santiago too, to tell me and tell the audience what their personalities are. What's their big superpower or non-superpower?
Sure. So our protagonist Santiago, he's the captain of the ship. He's the feisty idealist. He's always looking for adventure, and he also looks for the best in people. He tries to bring the best out of people. So that's a little, I feel like I gave more of Santiago than I should have.
He's got a good heart.
Yeah. He also, his best friend is this little coqui frog, and the coqui particularly is very specific to Puerto Rico, and Kiko goes along for all the adventure. He's kind of nestled in Santiago's hair, or when he's in his pirate outfit, he just takes refuge on top of his hat. And Kiko tends to give a tiny helping hand, or even uses like his tongue whenever they need help reaching for something. Then we also have Tomas, who's Santiago's cousin. And Tomas is a little bit, I don't want to say vulnerable, but he definitely embraces his feelings when he's feeling a little bit anxious about a situation, like, ooh, that's too dark.
I would have said, yeah, he's anxious.
Yes.
He's hesitant.
Yes. Yeah. He's definitely hesitant at the adventure at hand, but his safety blanket is almost his guitar. He's a very talented guitarist, and that guitar too is infused with magic.
Right.
So he can harness the powers of the wind whenever he plays his power chord. And then one of my favorite characters is Lorelai.
I liked her too. I thought she was pretty great.
Yeah, she's awesome in the way that she's bold and fearless, but so sweet and kind. She's this mermaid that can transform into a girl through her magic pearl bracelet. Her way of speaking is always very flowery, in the sense that she ends up going for alliterations, or sometimes she says like spells that rhyme, and I don't know, we always have a lot of fun writing Lorelai. I feel like we can get very colorful with the language that she uses. And she's also a polyglot, which is really cool. Right. That gives us the opportunity to, introduce different languages other than English and Spanish, and Lorelai's there to translate. Other than that, there's Santiago's abuelo, his grandpa, who's very charming and almost the keeper of the lore. He knows all of the legends and stories of this magical island. And then there's Santiago's mom, Josefina, and she's the mayor of the port town.
And what about Prima Tina?
Oh yeah. So Prima Tina is Tomas's younger sister and Santiago's little cousin. She's awesome. She's an amateur inventor and engineer. Her voice is so charming, and I always love recording her. It's always so cute. She also has low vision, but that doesn't stop her. She's
Yeah.
she's
Now, are you directing the voice acting as well?
uh for the first part of first season, not so much because I was new to it. I kind of observed and learned, but
It's a little bit different than the animation part.
yep. So I just observed a lot in the beginning through the direction of Val
Mhm.
and Leslie and Holly, who was our voice director. And then I got
Okay.
more confident with time and
Yeah,
gave
so
some
are you
direction.
going to do that? Have you done any voice directing yet? Or are you just
I
gonna?
mean, I'll give my notes and all that kind of stuff. Sometimes I'll step in with the Spanish,
Right.
or maybe for a kind of energy that we want for a particular scene, and then I'll voice it. But for the most part, I trust my voice directors too.
Yeah. I want to step backwards a little bit because you're pretty young in the business. I mean, that all things being equal, of course, everybody in the business is younger than me now. But um, when you were coming up, before you decided on animation, what got you interested in animation as a kid when you were Santiago's age and Lorelai's age? What were you watching? What kind of inspired you? Was
Sure,
there a moment when you said, that's what I want to do?
sure. Oh my gosh, I feel like it was this fusion of so many things. I I mean, animation, just the idea of storytelling. Storytelling for me was, it just fueled my imagination all the time. I remember watching Disney movies or tuning into some of my favorite series, and after that was done, I would always resort to grabbing my dad's uh what is it, like notebooks from work, all the blank
Mhm.
pages. I didn't know that I was doing it at the time, but I kind of storyboarded my own idea of additional adventures from what I was watching. And this was when I was like 6 or 5 or 7. And that was the one thing that I never lost interest in. I always wanted to make my own comic books, or play around with some really terrible rough animation. And then when it came down to it, when I was about to graduate high school, I was like, well, that's the one thing I'm not tired of doing yet, so I'm gonna try it out. But projects that, I mean, stuff that I would see that had a profound impact. um, I loved video games, so Legend of Zelda really inspired me in terms of world building and mythology, as well as Final Fantasy.
Mhm.
Um, Shows like Sailor Moon. When I first saw Sailor Moon, I was like, how cool is to see this group of girls who are close friends and they're saving the world through love and justice and magical transformations. And at the time, what, there was Power Rangers and there was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, so I was like, there's something for me where girls are kick ass.
Yeah. Yeah. And well, that's kind of interesting because it kind of goes to another question I had. I mean, you're a Latinx person. You're part of this underrepresented community in animation or in the whole entertainment industry. I mean, there's J Lo and people like that, but especially in animation, do you think because um, you're here, you're being successful, you have some influence now, how do you think, both for you and for maybe the Latin community going forward, do you see progress? Do you see good things happening? Do you feel a responsibility to that?
I definitely see good things happening, because how cool was it that this board of executives saw an idea of mine that champions my culture,
Mhm.
my people, my language, and all that kind of stuff. And they're like, oh my God, that's so great. We want to see that on screen. So that's a major plus. But there's so many stories out there to tell, and so many diverse perspectives. even from my own culture, there's a variety of perspectives about it, and I feel like there's definitely plenty of room at the table for other creators to have their chance to tell their stories. Um, so what does that mean for me? That means that I try to do this a lot on my own team. If anybody wants to pitch or wants to level up in their career, then I'm gonna do whatever I can to mentor them and supply them with the resources needed so they can,
You're a mentor.
progress, evolve. Yeah.
Speaking of mentors, Nikki, how about your mentors? Who was it that you follow, even if you knew them or not? Who were your inspirations? Who were you following? It doesn't have to be in animation either. Who was it that
Oh
you
my
said, I want to glom onto that person?
I feel like in the studio, I've got so many mentors. My EIC Dana, she's been incredible. I feel like it's so cool to have an executive in charge that you can trust, and she's just very genuine in terms of giving guidance, and whenever it's calling the reality of this, like there's no sugarcoating, but she always knows how to best support me, I suppose, through it all. So having that in this journey helps so much.
Right.
And then Ramsey Nato is incredible. I loved her so much, and I'm so excited for all of the progress that the studio is right now embracing, and it's thanks to her leadership as well as Brian. So yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, there's now you're probably going to do 15, 20 seasons of this.
Oh gosh, that would be cool.
Yeah, I remember when The Simpsons started, they said, we're going to, we do a year. And, then it was another year. And now it's what, 33? I think they've been signed to 33, their 33rd year. But, who knew it started as this small thing. And you've got this show. So, but where would you want to go? Do you want to do other television things? This one's like a, early elementary grade school,
Yeah.
7, 8, 9, 10-year-olds. But what else? What are you thinking? You said you had other things that you'd pitched. What are you thinking going forward? Besides the show, which you're going to spend every minute working on for a long time. But
I mean, I would love to. I would definitely love to do an animated feature at some point. I have this little notebook where I'm always jotting down, like, oh, what would be, what could I do with my own princess? What would be my own ideal princess story that I like to tell? I don't know. There's always like that childhood goal of telling your princess story. But that aside, I'm currently working on another concept for Nickelodeon's short programs, and that one is definitely for an older audience. It's a horror comedy. So
horror comedy is good.
Oh my God, I love ghost stories. I love going on like ghost hunting tours and all that kind of stuff, and learning about, haunted places. So all that love is being manifested through this short, and I hope everybody will enjoy it once it comes out.
Once it gets done.
Yeah.
So but Santiago, I guess you've got stories for the rest of this season. You've got stories already probably set up for next season. How long does it generally take from the time that you greenlight an episode till the episode is complete?
It's delivered to.
Yeah, delivered, ready to press the button for broadcast.
Gosh, I may be off with this number, but I want to say anywhere from 7 to 9 months.
That sounds about right.
Script.
From storyboard to initial script to
ADR, all that kind of stuff. So,
and you have 2 other co-producers, right? 2 other creative co-producers. Do you divide the work up? You do this, you do that, or is it kind of all of you together, or basically they've let you go to do it? How have you worked with the with both Leslie and
So it definitely was more, how could I say it? I feel like they truly trusted me with all matters of design. So that was something that I could take the reins on. I was like, all right, this is what I have envisioned. This is the designs that I have approved. And they look at it like, yeah, that looks good. And then when it came to the records, and wrangling the writing room, I'd send my notes and all that jazz. But that's how it was divided initially, towards the beginning of the show. But then as we progress, it was like more involvement of everybody. People get more comfortable. So
yeah, that's true. And yeah, as the show develops and everybody kind of finds out where their feet are.
yeah, exactly.
You also, I mean, you're at Nickelodeon, and so a lot of the pre-productions there, storyboard and everything, but eventually it goes somewhere else for the animation to be done. And that, I think, is in China, is it not?
Malaysia, actually.
Malaysia.
The studio is Lemon Sky. They're amazing. They're so talented and so sweet and collaborative.
Have you had to go to Malaysia to work with them?
I did. It was so much fun.
Radar the dog, sorry.
No, it's good. He's very excited about the Malaysian studio.
Yeah. So you did get to go to Malaysia. I noticed in the credits that there was something about the Malaysia Film Fund or something like that. So that explains it.
Yeah.
So you work with Lemon Sky. How is that working long distance? Are you on the Zoom a lot with them and so forth?
Yeah, we would have weekly meetings just to check in, see how everybody was doing, if there were any questions for assets, animation comp, what have you. We always like to leave the door wide open, that there should be zero hesitation. If they have a question, just ask. So.
And you get like dailies or weeklies, and you look at it and make sure everything's working okay. Great, yeah. I think so much of animation. I mean, it's so funny. Everybody's saying, well, animation, COVID hit and it didn't stop us. Maybe there was a small transition and we're going, and I suspect that's has been the same with you. The COVID hasn't been personally yet. It may be really rough, but business, keeping animation going has been pretty.
Yeah. I feel like everybody at the beginning, it took some weeks to adjust to the situation and figure out a process. But once we got a hang of it, we just continued moving forward. And in the case of Santiago, we were lucky in a sense that we were done with boards already for season 1. So really, we were just waiting to receive animation for us to then note it through Shotgun and approve stuff.
So it's working. I always laugh about it because how did animation happen so fast? I said, animation has been working from home for decades. Even back in the paper days, my mentor was an old-time animator, and he worked from home, and he'd do the drawings and he'd send them. So here you go. So we have been working. Now CG has made it much easier. We have Zoom now, or Skype or whatever we use. So it's been pretty great. You have really beautiful music in the show. It has a lot of nice rhythms. It's very of the area. How did that come about?
So we have our composer is Alfonso, and I feel so bad because I'm blanking out on his last name, but Alfonso, he also composed the score for Klaus, which was the Netflix animated film that won a bevy of awards. If Alfonso sees this, forgive me, Alfonso, for forgetting your last name.
Okay, I don't remember my last name, so it's fine.
But Alfonso, I mean, he just has this, his artistry is incredible. He's always checking in with me to make sure, like, does this sound good? Does this sound authentic? And he just brings a richness to the score. He really tries to make it feel as authentic as possible to Latin Caribbean music. Um,
Is he also from that area as well?
no, he's actually from Spain.
Oh, well, that's Spanish.
Yeah, yeah, but what was cool too is that as he was assimilating with the show, I was explaining to him that Tomas plays the cuatro guitar, which is
Mhm.
very specific to Puerto Rico.
Mhm.
And like a week after, he's like, I just ordered a cuatro and I'm gonna have it. So he's so awesome. He really wants it to feel as real and as true as possible.
Well, you're gonna be working on this for a while.
Oh, thank you. I hope that comes true. I
And
hope.
we're going to look forward to the other things you'll do down the road. I'm wishing you, first of all, I want to thank you for spending the time with us today.
Oh, my
And
pleasure.
I'm sure people will be interested. They'll watch the show. They'll get on our YouTube channel, the ASIFA YouTube channel, to watch us. Alfonso will see it. Yes.
He's gonna be so offended. Like,
And
why?
it's a really, really solid, um, really good for kids, and not so bad for adults to watch either, which is a nice thing too.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I
We
want to
want.
thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, we want to be inclusive to all audiences.
Yeah. I had one more question. Now you're going to move forward, and are you going to think you continue to, the Latin influence is going to continue to show up in your animation work, whether it's Santiago, which of course, or whatever you do down the road? Are you going to keep that kind of in the background there?
I mean, it was my experience. So when something is innately within you, I can't help but exude it onto the work that I do.
Yeah, that's
So I'm gonna say yes. But
yeah, I would
subconsciously it's gonna happen.
I very much appreciate it. I know that everybody at SIFA will be watching, and we're looking forward to more episodes of Santiago in the Sea. So Niki Lopez, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And now we're gonna say bye-bye. So wave like this, and Leslie will know that that's the signal to hit the button. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank
Thank
you very much,
you.
Niki. Bye-bye.